At dinner, my sister's fiance insulted me in front of everyone. I didn't react. I just showed him something on my phone that wiped the grin off his face. So there I was, sitting at my parents' dining table, watching this guy tear me apart with his jokes while everyone laughed along. My sister's new fiance thought he was hilarious. My mom was practically in tears from laughing so hard. Even my dad was chuckling into his scotch. But here's the thing, I wasn't laughing. Because while everyone at that table thought I was just the family disappointment still figuring things out, I knew something they didn't. Something that was about to make this whole dinner very, very interesting. I'm Marcus. I'm 29 years old. And what I'm about to tell you is how one family dinner turned into the most satisfying moment of my entire life. But to understand why, I need to take you back a bit. Because this story, it's been building for years. Look, I love my family. I really do. But if I'm being honest, they've never really gotten me. My mom, Patricia, has always been the type who cares more about what the neighbors think than what's actually happening inside our house. You know the type, perfect Christmas cards, perfect lawn, perfect image. Everything's about appearances. My sister Emily is 31, and she's basically a carbon copy of Mom in that department. She was a beauty queen in college, studied communications, married her college boyfriend at 26. That marriage imploded last year because, according to her, they had different visions for their future. Translation: he didn't make enough money for her Instagram aesthetic. My dad, Richard, he mostly just goes along with whatever keeps the peace. Nice guy, but he's never been one to rock the boat. And then there's me. I was always the quiet one. The kid who'd rather be in his room building websites and learning to code than going to church brunches or country club dinners. When I got a full scholarship for computer science, my mom actually seemed disappointed. Like I was supposed to stay local and work at my dad's insurance firm or something. But here's what they never knew. While I was away at school, I wasn't just getting a degree. I was building something. A side project that started as just me messing around with predictive analytics software. I'd stay up until 3 in the morning, living on energy drinks and cheap pizza, working on this platform that I genuinely thought could be useful. And it was, after graduation, the thing just took off. I ended up licensing it to several major companies, made some smart investments, and yeah, I sold it for enough money that I never had to work again if I didn't want to. But I never told my family any of this. Want to know why? Because even after I bought my house, paid in cash, by the way, my mom would still say things like, "Oh, Marcus, you'll find your path eventually." Like I was some lost 20-something, still sleeping on a friend's couch. I kept my mouth shut because I knew how it would go. They'd either not believe me, or they'd suddenly want to be involved in every decision I made. Neither option sounded appealing. So I just let them think what they wanted to think. It was easier that way. Or at least I thought it was easier. Things got weird after Emily moved back home following her divorce. She went through this whole reinvention phase. New hair, new wardrobe, new personality for Instagram. It was like watching someone try on different costumes trying to find one that fit. Then about 6 months ago, she started dating this guy named Derek. Oh man, Derek. Picture this, 6'2", professionally tanned, beard trimmed to absolute perfection. The kind of guy who probably uses the term alpha mindset unironically. He dressed like he was always about to close a business deal, even when he was just grabbing coffee. And my family? They ate it up. He's very successful in finance, my mom would say, like she had any clue what he actually did. My dad would nod approvingly and mention how Derek carried himself well. I met him briefly one time at my parents' house. Just a quick handshake and a "hey man, what's good?" from him. But something felt off. Too polished, too rehearsed. Like he was performing a role he'd studied for. I kept my distance. Figured he'd be gone in a few months anyway, like all of Emily's other projects. I was wrong about that. Last month, I got a text from my mom. "No, hi honey, no, hope you're well. Just, family dinner Sunday at 7. Be there. Emily is bringing Derek." Real warm and fuzzy, right? I almost didn't go. I had other things I could be doing. Better things, honestly. But something about the way she phrased it bothered me. It wasn't an invitation, it was a command. Like my only purpose was to show up and play my part in their perfect family production. Against my better judgment, I went. I showed up about 10 minutes late. Not to be disrespectful, just, on my own schedule. My mom answered the door in her country club best, looking at me like I'd just shown up in sweatpants. "Marcus," she sighed. We were about to start. No hug. No, good to see you. Just disappointment that I dared to arrive on my own terms. I walked into the dining room, and everyone was already seated. Dad at the head of the table, nursing his usual scotch. Emily dressed up like she was going to a gala, not a family dinner. And Derek, sitting there like he owned the place, leaning back in his chair with this confidence that just radiated off him. "Yo, what's up, bro?" he said with that grin. That punchable grin. "Nice of you to finally show up." I smiled politely. "Traffic." He snorted. "Right. In this town." My mom cleared her throat and gestured to my seat like a director placing an actor on stage. I sat down, already regretting my decision to come. For the first 20 minutes, everything was painfully normal. Small talk about work, the weather, some distant relative I barely remembered. I thought maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't be so bad. Then Derek started in with a story. He was talking about some co-worker who tried to start a side business. Dude thought he was going to be the next Zuckerberg or something. Derek laughed. Made like $7 total and called himself an entrepreneur. Everyone cracked up. My mom laughed the hardest, like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Emily wiped away a fake tear. I didn't say anything, but I noticed Derek glance at me, like he was checking to see if I'd take the bait. "You ever try anything like that, Marcus?" he asked, still grinning. "I heard you're into tech stuff." I shrugged. "Sort of." He leaned forward. "You should talk to this guy I know. He teaches coding to high schoolers. Pretty solid gig for people who can't break into real development jobs." Real development jobs. The table went quiet for just a second. Then Derek laughed, and everyone else joined in like it was all in good fun. "Ouch," Emily said, but she didn't defend me. She just sipped her wine. I looked at my mom. She was smiling, nodding along. Dad just stared at his plate. "Sounds like a great backup plan," I said calmly, "for someone like you." Derek's smirk faltered for half a second, but he recovered. "Nah, I'm good. I'm in finance. Real-world stuff." My dad actually chuckled at that. Could use more of that kind of thinking around here. That one stung. I'd literally helped my dad set up a budgeting app last year that automated half his finances. But sure, Derek the finance bro was the real-world guy. I stayed quiet for the rest of the meal. Let them enjoy their little echo chamber. But inside, my brain was working overtime. See, I'd Googled Derek a few days earlier, just out of curiosity, And what I found was interesting. Real interesting. But I wasn't ready to show my cards yet. I wanted to see how far he'd take this. Turns out, pretty far. After the main course, Derek was in full performance mode. Leaning back, rubbing his stomach like some satisfied king. Talking about his company's big plans. "We're launching a new algorithmic fund next quarter," he said. "Real cutting-edge stuff. You wouldn't believe the amount of back-end work I've had to manage." "Back-end work?" I asked quietly, twirling my fork. He looked at me. "Yeah, quantitative models, predictive analytics, finance stuff." He said it like I was a child who needed simple words. "Sounds complicated," I said. "It is," he replied. Then he grinned. "You ever think about getting into actual business? Or are you still dreaming about coding in your pajamas at 2 a.m. drinking Red Bull?" Emily laughed. Actually laughed. "Derek, stop," she said, but her eyes were saying, "Please keep going." My mom didn't laugh this time, but she gave me that look. That tight-lipped, passive-aggressive mom, look that could suck the oxygen out of a room. "Marcus," she said firmly, We've talked about this. You need to learn to take a joke. That's how we bond. I blinked. Teasing or belittling? Her face hardened. Don't make a scene. There it was. The phrase I'd heard my entire life. Don't make a scene. Translation: don't make us look bad. Don't make us uncomfortable. Don't shatter the illusion. I sat back in my chair. I didn't realize being mocked at dinner was considered bonding. Derek raised an eyebrow. It's all in good fun, buddy. No need to get defensive. I didn't respond. I just looked at him. Really looked at him. Long enough that his cocky smile slipped just for a second. Then my dad broke the tension. All right. Let's move on. Marcus, you working on anything interesting these days? He didn't actually care. It was just his way of diffusing things, redirecting the conversation away from conflict. Just some projects, I said vaguely. Keeping busy. Derek snorted. Again. Apparently that's his thing. What kind of projects? He pressed. Top secret. I looked at him. He didn't blink. He was trying to embarrass me again. Before I could answer, my mom sighed loudly, like I was the problem. Marcus, please, she said in that disappointed teacher voice. Can we not do this tonight? You're making things awkward. I froze. Everyone turned to look at me. I was making things awkward. Not Derek, who'd been taking shots at me all night. Not Emily, who'd been smiling through every insult like it was open mic night. Me. I felt something twist in my chest. Something old and familiar. The same feeling I used to get in high school when Emily would throw a tantrum over something she did wrong and I'd get grounded for not being the bigger person. Sure, I said quietly. Let's not make things awkward. The conversation moved on. They laughed about mutual friends, upcoming trips, somebody's dog. I barely listened. I just nodded when I needed to, sipped my water, kept my face neutral. But inside, a storm was brewing. Because this wasn't just about tonight. This was about years of being overlooked, dismissed, told to be quieter, smaller, more acceptable. Years of watching Emily get praised for doing the bare minimum while I worked my ass off in silence. And now, there was this shiny new golden boy at the table who could say whatever he wanted as long as he looked good doing it. Then came the moment that changed everything. Dessert had been cleared, store-bought cheesecake that my mom pretended she made. The wine had done its job. Dad was leaning back with a satisfied grunt. Emily was scrolling through her phone, showing Derek something on Instagram. Then Derek spoke up, glancing up from her screen. I actually gave a talk on fintech disruption last week, he said casually. My team's been working with this new predictive analytics firm. Stream Tech or something like that. Little nobody startup, but they've got solid tech. We're probably going to acquire their platform outright in a few months. I carefully set down my water glass. Stream Tech? I asked. Calm. Even. Yeah, Derek answered. You heard of them? What exactly is your role in all this? I asked. He smiled. I'm kind of the front man, you know. I handle the negotiations, smooth over deals, make sure numbers line up. Some of the execs don't like dealing directly with the code guys. Gets too technical. The code guys. I repeated it slowly. The code guys. Yeah, he said, apparently not picking up on my tone. No offense, but those people aren't exactly business-minded. They're smart in their own way, just not cut out for the big table. The big table. The big table, I echoed. Now everyone was looking at me. Emily was watching nervously. Dad looked confused. Mom was frowning. And Derek just kept going. Anyway, we'll definitely integrate their tools into our infrastructure. Maybe hire a couple of their developers if they can keep up. Win-win situation. I didn't say anything. I just reached into my pocket slowly and pulled out my phone. What are you doing? My mom asked sharply. I ignored her. Opened my email. Scrolled for a moment. Found what I was looking for. Stream Tech, I said. That predictive analytics startup. The one your company is planning to acquire. Derek furrowed his brow. Yeah. I held up my screen. I own it. Silence. Complete, total, crushing silence. The room literally stopped, like someone had hit pause on reality. Derek's grin vanished. His face went from confident to confused to horrified in about 3 seconds. My mom blinked rapidly. "What are you talking about?" I stood up slowly, didn't raise my voice, didn't change my tone. "Stream Tech is my company," I said clearly. "I founded it. Last year, I licensed our main product to 5 hedge funds. One of them is the firm you work for. I've met with your department heads 5 times, but I never heard your name because you weren't in any of those meetings." Derek had gone pale. His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again like a fish gasping for air. Emily looked like she'd just witnessed a car crash in real time. My dad sat up straighter, suddenly alert. "Wait, what?" "I didn't say anything because I knew how it would go," I continued. "I knew nobody would believe me. Because every time I tried to share something serious, you guys treated it like a phase. A joke. Something to roll your eyes at." My mom finally found her voice. "You're telling me you own a tech company? Since when?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. 4 years, Mom. I haven't said anything because would it have mattered? You made up your mind about me a long time ago. Derek stood up too, his confident energy completely gone, replaced by something twitchy and desperate. "Look, man, I didn't know." "If you'd known," I cut him off, "you wouldn't have said half the things you said tonight. You probably wouldn't have said anything at all." He looked at Emily like she was supposed to help him. She just stared at the table. I took one final look around the room, at the people who were supposed to be my family. There's a specific kind of silence that happens when people realize the mental image they created of you doesn't match reality. Not the silence of reflection or sadness, the stunned, gaping silence of ego being recalibrated in real time. That's what I saw at that table. Chad's jaw was clenched. My mom looked like she'd been unplugged and rebooted. Emily stared at me with this weird mix of shock, embarrassment, and something dangerously close to shame. And my dad just sat there like a man watching his house tilt on its foundation. "I'm selling Stream Tech," I said quietly. "The deal closes on Friday." My mom gasped. "You're what?" "It's been in the works for months. I signed the paperwork last week." Emily blinked. "Wait, like selling? For how much?" I looked at her. That was enough. Derek made a choking sound. "To who?" I looked at him. "Not your company." Then I walked out. Didn't wait for dessert. Didn't say goodbye. Just left them sitting there in that dining room like mannequins frozen mid-conversation. The aftermath 42:00-48:00. I didn't sleep much that night. You'd think walking out like that would feel cathartic. And it was in a way. But there was also something heavier. Something that settled in my chest and wouldn't leave. I kept replaying their faces. The silence. The weight of all those years I'd spent hiding my success because I didn't want to be that guy. The arrogant tech bro. The "I made it and now I'm better than you" guy. I never wanted to rub anything in anyone's face. But they had no problem grinding me into the dirt. And now I had nothing left to prove to them. Here's the truth, though. Walking away doesn't mean you don't carry the bruises. In the days after that dinner, there were no texts, no calls, not even a passive-aggressive "we need to talk" from my mom. Just silence. At first, that felt good. But loneliness has a way of echoing louder after disappointment. And I wasn't immune to it. The sale of Stream Tech kept me busy. When you're selling a company you built from scratch, it's like dismantling your own house. You examine every board, every nail, every corner, making sure nothing rotten gets left behind. Then Friday came. I signed the final documents at 9:42 a.m. Got the confirmation ping a minute later. Just like that, it was done. I stared at my laptop screen for a long time. The number in my bank account didn't feel real. Enough zeros to make my high school economics teacher proud. Enough to change my life 10 times over. But instead of celebrating, I closed my laptop and went for a walk. I ended up at this little coffee shop downtown where I used to work during college. They still served burnt espresso and had the same wobbly table by the window. I sat there for about an hour, watching people walk by, wondering what came next. Then Emily texted me, "Hey, you around?" I stared at it, thought about deleting it, but something in me, curiosity, stupidity, maybe hope, made me type back, "Yeah." She sent me an address. Not our parents' house. Her apartment. I thought about it for a while, paid for my coffee, and went. She answered the door in sweatpants and a hoodie. No makeup. No performance. Just Emily, the version I hadn't seen since we were kids sharing cereal before Saturday morning cartoons. She didn't say anything at first. Then, softly, "You want to come in?" I nodded. Her apartment was small, cluttered, half-unpacked boxes in the corner, a neglected wine glass on the counter. She gestured to the couch, and we sat. "Look," she started. Her voice was quiet. I didn't know. About the company. About any of it. I stayed silent. She fidgeted with her hoodie zipper. He's a lot. You saw what he's like. After my divorce, I just felt like I needed someone who seemed stable and confident. Someone who had it together, you know." "So you brought him to dinner to show him off," I said, raising an eyebrow. Her cheeks reddened. "I didn't expect him to be such an idiot, and I didn't expect you to drop a bomb like that." "I didn't plan to," I said, but he kept pushing, and nobody stopped him. Emily exhaled slowly. "That's kind of how we are, isn't it? We perform. We keep up appearances. We don't rock the boat." I nodded. "Yeah, and the boat's been sinking for years." She didn't respond for a while. "Mom's freaking out," she finally said. "Not just about what happened, about what she missed. She called me yesterday crying, saying she failed you somehow." I almost laughed. Now she notices. "She's not great at apologizing," Emily said. "She thinks if she ignores stuff long enough, it just resets." "Yeah, that sounds familiar." "I'm not asking you to forgive her," she said carefully, "but maybe just talk to her. She's not sleeping. Dad's pretending everything's fine, but I know he's shaken too." I looked at her. "And what about Derek?" She winced. I ended it. 2 days after dinner. I couldn't look at him the same way after what you showed us." "Good." We talked for a while longer. She apologized again. This time, not as a performance. It felt real, raw, vulnerable. And despite everything, she was still my sister. Maybe she was finally starting to see me as more than the family punching bag. I left without making any promises. Didn't text Mom. Didn't call Dad. Instead, I booked a trip. 2 weeks at a cottage by the ocean. No laptop. No work. No family. Just me. And you know what? It was the best thing I ever did. Moving forward, 54:00-60:00. I spent those 2 weeks hiking, reading, cooking for myself, sitting on the porch at night, listening to the wind. No judgment, no expectations, just silence. And slowly, piece by piece, something inside me started to rebuild. Not with big declarations or Instagram quotes, just in the quiet. I started thinking about what I wanted next. Not for money or status. For myself. I'd already won the game. My family didn't even know I was playing. It was time to stop playing for them entirely. When I got back, I had a plan. Not for revenge. For freedom. But of course, nothing stays quiet for long. Because when I returned home, there was a letter waiting for me. No return address. Inside was a wedding invitation. Emily and Derek. And a handwritten note from my mom. "We hope you'll come. Family is everything. Let's not let one dinner ruin that." I read it 5 times. Let's not let one dinner ruin that. Like it was just a minor hiccup. An awkward moment to sweep under the rug with all the other things they'd conveniently forgotten. I stood in my hallway holding that invitation, the kind of silence that shouts. I wasn't angry. Not immediately. What I felt was colder, clearer, a stark realization that the people who should have known me best never did. Family is everything. Yeah, well, if family was everything, maybe they should have started treating me like something. I sat down at my kitchen counter and stared at that invitation. And then I smiled. Not a smug smile. Not a bitter one. Just a quiet smile. Because for the first time in a long time I realized something. I was free. Free to choose who I let into my life. Free to walk away from people who only valued me when it was convenient. Free to stop playing small for people who never asked what I was building when I disappeared into my room for hours. They'd always seen a kid with a laptop, never a man with a vision. I picked up my phone and sent Emily a text. I'm not coming to the wedding, but I hope you find what you're really looking for. And I hope next time you find someone who sees you for who you actually are, not who they need you to be. She didn't respond right away, but 3 hours later, a message came through. I understand, and thank you for everything. That was it. No drama, no explosion, just closure. I threw the wedding invitation in the trash. Some endings don't need closure. Some endings are just clean, like the sound of a door finally shutting behind you. And you know what? That's okay, because on the other side of that door was a life I got to build entirely on my own terms. No performances, no pretending, no more playing small. Just me, finally free. Thanks for hearing our story on Reddit Family Stories. If you've dealt with blended family drama, jealousy, or watching someone make a life-destroying mistake, drop a comment below. And if you think I handled this right, or if you think I could have done something differently, I want to hear about it. Don't forget to subscribe for more real family stories. These aren't entertainment, they're real people's lives. See you in the next video.